Welcome everybody. Today I've brought you yet another video. Today we are going to talk about fabulous Michael Tsarion's great knowledge about ancient India and Atlantis. Let's see Michael Tsarion, the fabulous, is speaking the truth here or is something missing? Let's analyze this rare gem from Michael Tsarion, which he probably tried to bury, hide, but it's still on the internet available. Let's see.
That will be. And my name is Ruben Uriarte. I'm the State Director of Northern California MUFON. I'd like to welcome all of you. Michael is Celtic
I'm skipping the music because I don't want any copyright related stuff.
words spoken in the Bible in Tsarion.
Thanks again for joining me for the second part of this presentation.
Notice the earring, such homoerotic. Okay.
And if you give me a minute, we'll connect with where we were in the previous one.
My dude has no hair, but at least he has his earring going. So how old is he? In his early 20 or something?
No, it's fine. I turned it off.
He forgot to study anything, so he's studying on the spot.
While I'm fishing through the files. Okay. I'd like to come to the synopsis.
Try to notice how he's going to try to keep his earring in front. Try to flash his fabulous earring to the public.
So we can get to the matter of how much influence there has been in our society from this visitations and the coming of the gods. Let's see. Like I said before, that more than 30,000 written documents from all over the world tell of advanced beings who either came to Earth or were already living on the Earth. This is from a good book called Past Shock by Jack Barringer. Now, the word Nephilim that's used in the Bible to describe these beings really means those who were cast down, not those who came down, okay? Sometimes they mistranslate that. It's those who were cast down. The difference of influence. In a book called the Srimad Bhagavatam of India, there's a quote that says, "It tells of a demon race which invaded the three planetary systems."
He is starting his lecture, by the way, using Indian stuff. Okay. So it's all good now.
Opposing the demons was the Hindu god Shiva, who possessed a powerful weapon that he fired at the enemy airships from his own. Now, it's interesting that the Mahabharata, the Veda, and the Bible, many of the references that, of course, spoke about this were just taken out. The Mahabharata, when Western scholars, even recently, like the 19th century, when they had to go
Very beautiful.
through that book, or the Bhagavad Gita, and translate it into English, do you know that any time they came across a
Very homoerotic, erotic, right? Is he using this eyeliner also or something? What's going on with him? I'm not mocking him. I'm just making fun, keeping things humorous. Because this guy was talking shit about in his video about Buddha and adding all sorts of weird things in Buddhism when none of his whole shit had any connection with Buddhism. So he brought this term up, homoeroticism, a lot.
Be seen as something that might have been.
I was sensing this latent homosexual energy in him. Then I found this gem. So once again, I'm not mocking anything. I'm just presenting you the stuff how they are. This is public. This is publicly available. You can also search this. So something is going on. That's all I'm saying.
Passage like this, they just left it out. They didn't even bother translating it because, of course, they knew what it would mean, it would represent. Then we turn to the Bible again. We have a statement that says, they come from the far country, from the end of heaven, to destroy the whole land. Who are these that fly in a cloud as the doves to their windows? Now, that's right. Who are these personages? I'd like to go into that right now with you and explain something of the background of our history that has
He forgot once again. So he's stalling people.
been kept from us. It turns out that about 50,000 years ago, the Sumerian records always talk about 400,000 years ago.
Okay,
If you
he
listen
definitely is using some sort of eyeliner or something.
to Zachariah Sitchin when he's talking about the Anunnaki, and he's translated the ancient monuments there and the scripts and the cylinder seals, he tends to put the emphasis on 400,000 years ago. And I tend to have some problems with that because it's not really corroborated by many of the other peoples and tribes and their writings. The Celtic peoples, the tendency is to believe it's about 50,000 years ago that our planet was actually visited.
Can decide if it's these eye circles or is it some sort of homoeroticism going on. I'm not sure. Looks like that way.
By aliens. And the stories of the legends, when you research them enough and find out what was going on, you actually discover that a race of beings who had been expurged from their own planetary system somewhere else, some people say Sirius, others is talking about the Pleiades, there's different philosophies.
Let me lick that lip.
They had been expunged from their own system in an Armageddon that they had
Okay, look at his mannerism. If I'm making fun, or is it actually happening?
discover that a race of beings who had been expurged from their own planetary system somewhere else, some people say Sirius, others is talking about the Pleiades, there's different philosophies. They had been expunged from their own system in an Armageddon that they had been having on their planet. And they left and they were being pursued. And they were extremely advanced people. They're where our technology is, maybe even 1,000 years and more in advance. And these beings had space travel. And the stories talk about how they left their own planetary system and they were being pursued. This adversarial power, you see.
What? Is he passing signals or something? This is not normal. Is it me who's catching this or is it something?
And
Why
it
is he standing like this in front of camera, not straight?
somehow says that they strayed into our solar system while they were being pursued, and they were ahead of their pursuers. And what they did was that they landed, or at least pretended to land, on another planet that used to be in our solar system. And we'll come to that. Now, we have information.
He forgot again.
Yeah. All down through society, as many other scholars and websites have gone into. Excuse me. About the strange vehicles and visitations. Like in the book of Ezekiel, there's that famous quote that you've heard a lot. Now, as I looked upon the living creatures, I saw 4 wings upon the ground, one by each of them, of the living creatures, with their 4 faces, the appearance of wheels, and their composition was like the color of shiny amber. And all 4 wings had but one likeness, and their composition was like a wheel in the middle of a wheel. This is in the Bible, in the book of Ezekiel, about a vision that this prophet is meant to have had. And we have artifacts from all over the world that bear incredible resemblance to modern-day spaceships. I'm showing you this for a reason, because some of you have seen this stuff before on other websites, but I've got a particular interest to explain why there is the similarity. And spacemen and astronauts. Because on a lot of the programs that deal with this, they do tell you they show you these things, but they never go into why. Have you ever noticed that after an hour-long, multi-million-dollar program, they still leave...
So this is from Egypt. We also had these things called Vimana, and he will talk about that. Michael Tsarion, who is talking all sorts of shit about Indian culture. He made his dollars by glorifying Indian stuff, by the way. Okay. And he's talking shit about homoeroticism, something. When he is showing all sorts of things here. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, good thing. I'm not being against any gay people or something. I'm just showing you his hypocrisy. Is he doing this thing to hide his latent homosexuality? I don't know what he is into, to be honest. And I'm least interested. But since in the video, this video, these three clowns were talking about killing the Buddha with Jack Cahill, or whatever his name is. Cahill. How you pronounce this? They were talking shit about things, unconnected, disconnected things, and they were using these terminology, homoeroticism, and mixing everything out of their racism, narcissism, hatred, and they ended up showing their own lack of information, understanding on these things. Okay, so that's why I'm creating this video to show you people that how these people, they twist everything, they lie about things, they hide and project they own some sort of things that they think is not right in them. Okay.
With more questions. So we've got to realize that just displaying the facts and looking at the anomalies is one half of it, but then we need somebody to come along and give the answers, and that they will not do right now on mainstream media. Here we have again some sort of celestial scene with some what looks like crafts flying, you see. And then, of course, the temple at Abydos in Egypt, you have carvings on the walls that look like submarines and helicopters, very similar to what we have today. And many throughout the world,
Vimanas on top. So this is same Michael Tsarion who talks shit about India, by the way. Okay.
Vimana is a term that the Indians have used. Shem is a term that the Israelites have used. We have different visitation witnesses. Now, as these beings were entering into our solar system, they did land on a great planet that was in our solar system. It was called Tiamat by the ancients. Some people have also called that Lucifer, and others Luna, not connected to our moon. This was a gigantic planet that was mostly oceans, by the way, and it was its atmosphere was so luminescent that people called it the second sun. That's how it got the name Lucifer. In fact, another term that they often used was Phaeton, right? The Greeks called that planet Phaeton. And it wasn't a sun, but it was a planet that had certain...
Did somebody verify this thing? It's nonsense.
Whatever atmosphere it had, whenever the sunlight was, beaming on it, it has great radiance. And all down through society you'll hear in the ancient legends the terminology that relates to the second sun or the second orb in our solar system. And these beings that entered into our solar system made it appear, or that they had landed on this planet. They even set up a dummy base to send pulsations, electromagnetic pulsations out. And when their pursuers arrived,
very fabulous of him,
into our solar system,
notice his mannerism, by the way.
They detected this and basically thought that their adversary was on this planet of Tiamat, and guess what they did to it? They completely incinerated the entire planet of this Tiamat. And in many works, there's references to this. They say this planet split in half. One part just plunged into the sun. Another part became our moon. Some people even say part of Tiamat became the Earth. But that's not really true. So this entire planet was destroyed, and all of its content is up there now as what we call the asteroid belt. Exactly. And Charles Fort, who's an American suppressed writer, not too well known by people, made a...
He's saying there used to be a planet named Tiamat, or Luna, or Lucifer, and it is our asteroid belt now. Is there any evidence? Is it a known fact? What's going on here?
Life study of these things that have to do with anomalies like fallen ice, these huge chunks of ice, and frozen fish, and all sorts of strange things that fall from the sky. It's never been properly explained, and they thought he was a crank. The point is that they're not coming from our planet. Sometimes when our orbit of our planet, has times when it comes very close to the asteroid belt and the debris that's up there from this lost planet. And when it does, the magnetic attraction of the Roche field brings some of this content through into our atmosphere again. And that's why even live fish can fall. Because I'm talking about this destruction of this planet probably happened about 50,000 years.
Clearly, this is a known phenomena now when live fish fall, and they are not falling from some Luna or some Tiamat or something. It is a known fact. It can be searched. You can search this right now, and it has no connection with any Tiamat or something. So these people, they've been deceiving people all their lives with the bullshit made up stories.
Years ago. But and it was an ocean planet. Tiamat was an ocean planet, so most of that is ice, as most of the asteroid belt is ice. Those are frozen oceans. And even its contents will fall to our Earth live, thousands of years later, because of the nature of the refrigeration. And then it's
Can he imagine what is he spewing right now? How far that asteroid belt is around your Pluto? These people, they are nonsensical. They're spreading disinformation and misinformation for decades now. Decades.
Activated by our Earth atmosphere. And every time this stuff happens...
So I have a question with people. Do you think this person can milk a cow or fish a fish? I mean, he's talking about falling fish from the sky. But can this person fish a fish or milk a cow? So this is what is going on with the Irish useless sons. They waste their time and they waste others' time in their garbage. Okay.
All of the world have seen this happen in front of them, and it's never been properly explained. So, these beings actually did not go to Tiamat. They actually landed on our planet, which was mostly covered in forests at that time. And it was 5 different continents, not what we know today. And they went into the tunnels, the people like Eric von Daniken,
He was there watching and witnessing everything.
Have discovered and amazed at how these tunnels could be cut. And some say that they even went under the oceans. Like in Samuel here it says, "And the king said to her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth." In Bulwer Lytton, his book The Coming Race, he says he describes the existence of a utopian society of advanced beings who live in tunnels and caverns beneath the surface of the earth in a land called the Vrilya. These beings, known as the Ana, were forced into the inner earth because of earth changes, specifically a flood which destroyed their civilizations. Okay? So again, information about Hollow Earth. And by the way, Hollow Earth is a fascinating subject if ever there was one. This is Admiral Byrd, you may have heard of, who flew across.
They're all nutcases with their nutcase conspiracy theories about all these things. They take things out of context and they stretch these things out of proportion. They make mountain out of your molehill. That's what these people are doing and enjoying their dollars that they generate after fooling people for decades now. Decades.
Across the North Pole and discovered that there was these caverns that, again, are not on any physical maps. For those who don't know about this, they should check into the concept of Hollow Earth. In the book of Job, it says,
Concept of Hollow Earth, or conspiracy theory of Hollow Earth.
Dead things are formed from under the water, and the inhabitants thereof. And then when you look to the comment about this, it says, the place where the Rephaim stay, which is beneath the waters. Dead things in Hebrew is Rephaim, the offspring of the fallen angels, akin to the Nephilim.
These are the same people who spread hatred toward Christianity, by the way, in today's time. They started their so-called career by glorifying these things. So what do you call such people? What do you call such people? I have a lot of words for them. Sadly, I cannot say on internet without getting banned. Yeah.
But again, just for now, let's notice that they're talking about living under the waters. You know, the Celtic legends speak of exactly the same thing. How that when the gods, the negative beings, come to attack the gods, they come from under the ocean. It's another thing that people just throw across the room and go, what is this nonsense? When they read it in a legend. They don't take it seriously. Now, these beings came to our planet, and after they knew that their pursuers had basically gone, they emerged out onto the surface of the earth and set up their headquarters on the continent of Appalachia, And the headquarters was called Atlantis.
Otherwise, this is his slideshow. Good design and everything, but just one phrase as a slideshow. Nice, nice magic.
Atlantis is not a continent. This is another piece of disinformation that's been brought out. There was 5 gigantic continents in those days: Tyrrhenia, Beringia, Oceania, Fennoscandia, and Appalachia. And Appalachia was in the north. It's where, North America, Alaska is, or where the Arctic is now, right across past Greenland, Iceland, into where up of England, and then into Sweden and into Siberia. That whole area, but specifically the part between, say, Greenland and England. This is where Atlantis was, on a gigantic continent. You could walk the whole way. And the headquarters of these alien beings is what we've come to call Atlantis. And when they set up this advanced, they had all their technology with them, spacecrafts and all sorts of super technologies. Remember Superman, the movie? How when they watch Superman, when he goes up to his, his oracle or his tabernacle, his temple, don't they show him going north, up into the Arctic, into the snows? And then he goes into his precinct and it's all like a crystalline computer. Do you remember that? Superman.
How the hell does he know he's going to the north?
From
The
another
movie.
planet? Yeah, somebody's trying to tell us things there.
These are facts. But look at the state of these people. These people are presenting these mythological things, mixing a lot of stuff, mixing movies, presenting these things as facts.
Anyway, these beings started to interact with us. Now, our planet, in the 65 million years or whatever we've been on this planet, Homo sapien has been on this planet as hunter-gatherers, we probably have been visited enormous amount of times by cousins and brothers from other solar systems. But the policy of most of those groups has always been to come here, do your research, but not to interfere in the actual destiny of the indigenous peoples, the Homo sapiens, and the
My guy is bald from front and he has a ponytail or something. Okay.
Neanderthals and the Angus
This is the state of this person in his 20, late 30 something. Mid to late 20, 30 something.
people that were on this planet.
By
Not
the way,
to
this guy, this person, he talks shit about other people. Night and day. And this is how he looked like.
involve yourself, and if possible, not even to be seen. Okay? But these beings who came here were what you would call in Milton the fallen angels, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. And they had an agenda that did want to interfere with the Homo sapien at that time. So they
Is
started.
it a pentacle? What do you call it? Pentagram? Pentacle? How you call it? Pentacle? There's a pentagram. Something. I'm not even sure. It looks like a star in his ear.
Corral, and they start to research all of the life forms and all of the peoples of the earth at that time. And they start to corral, just like in the movie Planet of the Apes, they show this. They started to corral the people onto this place of Atlantis and started to check into their entire biology. And then at a certain point, thousands of years later, not immediately, because it takes time to set up all of these things, genetic changes were done. And the result being that almost all the original Homo sapiens were either changed, and those who weren't changed were killed or created into slaves.
By the way, all the human did not, all the races of human did not evolve from Homo sapiens. There were other such primordial primates were. There was Homo erectus. I'm not talking about him right now. There was a species side to side with Homo sapiens, Homo erectus, and there were other species, by the way, also. So whatever he's spewing, it does sound interesting. All that stuff, it's all garbage, made up.
And subsequently faded out. And the being that they created, we might want to term Homo Atlantis. A being that has pure alien DNA and has pure human DNA. Okay? Homo Atlantis, from which we are all descended. But the euphemism or the poetic
He's definitely a Homo erectus, by the way.
euphemism for these people is called the sons of the serpent. Because like I said, the original people were called the brotherhood of the snake or the serpent people. Not because they look like serpents, and we'll come to why they really were called the serpents in a minute. But their first progeny was called the sons of the serpent. And that's why we have in the Bible the term, it says, and God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Right? They're telling you all about this in the book of Genesis. And by the way, does anybody know that the word Genesis even means the genes of the goddess Isis? Or the generation
This audio is really bad, and this is not my computer or anything. This audio is crappy. Okay.
of Isis? Implying something? And in fact, the Bible, when it uses the word created, it's actually a mistranslation of a word that is actually more like our word build or construct. You know? So this is what we also have the term the firstborn. In the Bible, what we have to understand, because also, think of it, why would the angel of death or God, like even in Herod, you know, and later on in the, before in the Pharaoh's time, what would be the importance of going and killing the firstborn of your enemies? Sure, wouldn't it be smarter to go and kill your enemy and have done with it? Why are you going to wait to kill all his firstborns? See? And secondly, no such atrocity happened. There's never any record of any massacre of any innocents or anything like that in physical record at all. So the firstborn is another one of these cryptic terms, and it's a reference to the sons of the serpent race, also known as the children of the Elohim. Some people might want to call the original serpent masters the Jehovah clan, the term that's spoken of in the Bible, and others might want to call the first group, their firstborn, the Elohim. Now,
Is he saying that Jehovah Witness in today's time they are Homo Atlantis? Has anybody verified this thing? Is he still spewing his sewage that he usually does?
Christians will not understand this. What are you talking about? There is a rule of thumb that you can use in the Bible to make things a lot easier, and that is whenever you're hearing a term like that, especially Adam and Eve and Jehovah and Elohim, try to think less of an individual and more as a race. Okay, a group of people at least. And then things will start to be clear.
He was racist toward everybody. Okay.
Now, they created this firstborn to serve them. And they did it by genetically changing the human and alien DNA together at the place we call Atlantis. But
He's
as
talking about changing DNA. We live in 2026 now. Is there any knowledge base of such things? Because technology has evolved since 90s a lot. Or how old, whenever this slideshow or presentation he created. Since now, from that time, because people, it was easier to fool people back then. Okay, so people did not have access to computer, this and that. They were more intrigued about the whole shit. Nobody was thinking critically. Okay, so now after all these years, is it a fact? Has anybody find anything of his claims or anything about anything? I'm not talking about any conspiracy circles. I'm talking about actual verifiable fact.
time went by, maybe hundreds of years, nobody knows exactly the dates. The original visitation, of course, was what? 50,000 years ago. And we have, from that time, a great deluge. Remember when the planet Tiamat was destroyed, as I said, as debris fell into the earth and created enormous cataclysms.
Remember these things?
But it didn't create a pole shift. It just created enormous cataclysms that changed the face of the earth forever. But at least that kind of contamination slowly did subside over time. It was devastating, and many, many people died, and lots
Remember?
of changes in the land. But it was not so awesome, you see, that over a few hundred years, a certain amount of normalcy did not come back. Because the earth has been visited by that kind of trouble many, many times. But anyway, when they created this firstborn, they sent the firstborn out to be their servants, to actually go out into the Garden of Eden, into Atlantis, Appalachia, and their territories that they were conquering, and do their physical work for them. But after a certain period of time, these sons of the serpent had the human DNA.
Remember? Where are these sons of serpent now?
And therefore they had the humanity, the humanism, and the sense of spiritual connectedness to things, that sensibility that their own fathers didn't have. And it dawned on these sons of the serpent that finally they realized, to cut a long story short, that they didn't want to serve
Why is he keep on showing this blurry slide?
these masters anymore, because they probably didn't agree with them and didn't like doing this and didn't feel that they should be subservient. And it's interesting too, because they had the high intelligence and the divine spiritual connection. So they left. They actually upped and left as a race. Probably not all of them, but whatever the group of these sons of the serpent, they actually exited out of Appalachia, out of Atlantis, and resituated their own civilization on the continent of Oceania, which we now call Lemuria, which is estimated to be where the Pacific is, you see. And they completely left, just exited out, leaving their alien fathers with a predicament of what to do.
They just moved to from your what? It's still Earth. He's talking about. All right.
So what they did is they went back to the drawing board again to create another entity.
Okay.
It says, "Let us make him who shall nourish and sustain us. What shall we do to be invoked, to be remembered in earth? We have tried with our first creatures." Look at this. "But we could not make them venerate us. So then let us try to make obedient, respectful beings who shall nourish and sustain us." This is from a Mexican book, the Popol Vuh. Do you know the conquistadors, how many books they burned? You want to know why? If this is one little piece of one little book, right? Think what those books really...
Just mix everything without any coherent meaning. Just give people the shock effect. Whatever come your way, just add into your garbage and create what? This is, by the way, these people call research. Alright? No structure, nothing coherent. All their garbage, so-called wisdom is coming from fragmented pieces that they found interesting. Alright? No connection. Okay?
contained, and now find out why they were burned. The first creatures wouldn't do it, so we go to the second. Genesis, "By the sweat of thy face will be thy bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for dust thou art, and to dust thou wilt return." Does that sound like God talking to somebody? Or is it more of human politics? "And the Lord said, Behold, the man has become one of us, to know good and evil, and now lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever." Now, the interesting thing is that they did create another being, and that being they called the Adamic race, or we refer to now as the Adam. But again, not an individual. The Adams and Eves were created, but they were called the Adamic race. And they had to think, when they created the second generation offspring, they thought to themselves, what did we do the first time that was wrong? What we did the first time it was wrong is we gave the power to our first sons, the firstborn, the intellectual abilities and genius that we ourselves possess. And that's why they got all arrogant and took off. So the next time we make a group, our servants, we will literally dumb them down. We will close off.
Okay, he's into all his conspiracy theories. I don't have much time for this. I was talking about his fabulousness and his eroticism. So, do you see this thing or what? And this person, he's the same person who badmouth everybody and everything. The same person who started his career like this. Okay, let's go to just jump toward the end. You can watch it. It's available on internet. Michael Tsarion's Atlantis. Tsarion Atlantis. Okay.
People have been chased into our solar system and they came to our planet, and then the people that were pursuing them took off and left, remember? That's not strict.
Wearing some sort of bangles or something? Is it something else?
True. They weren't stupid. And obviously, if they've chased these people out of their own planet and into our another solar system, they're really going to make sure that none of these people survive, right? But for some reason, they did have to leave relatively quickly. They didn't come to this planet and seek them out. But they probably did do scans.
Because that's a right hand. And I can see a watch on the left one. So yeah, my guy is all sorts of fabulous. Right?
Of this planet and the solar system to find out if these people are still alive after they destroyed Tiamat. But Tiamat's destruction was creating so much electromagnetic disturbance in the solar system that these beings took off. And
could be fabric of his coat or something.
If you're into people like Nazim Haramein, the great physicist scientist, he's even talked about the fact that the sun is a black hole by which you do the time travel.
What the hell is this? Golden thing.
Right, so they may have needed to get out when they got out, etc., etc., etc. There may be all sorts of reasons. But they knew that just in case, these beings do exist on Earth, that they're there, they erected what is known as an etheric barrier around the Earth, around our Earth. And the magnetic key of that is the moon.
Oh,
And it's still there, by the way. And that is why no man has ever gone beyond the moon. You can go to the moon, but you can't go beyond it. And you never will. They can send a machine out there, but isn't it interested you that they still
never will.
haven't gone out there as a human form? This is something that's been held from us. You can't. There's a barrier of energy up there.
His claim still stands. He's bullshitting his way through his whole life. Still making bullshit conspiracy theories about all these things. And feeding his belly of all this thing. All sorts of weirdness.
Around our Earth that's of an esoteric nature. Involves technology, yes, but a technology of an extremely advanced nature that even these aliens probably couldn't crack or get out. So this Earth was in quarantine. If you read C.S. Lewis, he goes into all of this about Earth being quarantined. And the name that he has for our planet is called Fulcandra, the silent planet. It has to be quarantined off from the rest
These
of the
people,
9 planets.
they have wasted their time in reading all these fantastic books. These people are nowadays telling people to milk a cow. Okay, these people, all sorts of fabulous people.
Planets. Because planets are not really material bodies, they're intelligences of a kind. And our planet is under quarantine, so this Armageddon, this inner war, can take place in sequestrament. Okay, just like you quarantine a sick patient. And this ethereal barrier around it is called the Stargate, or the real Stargate. See, the other side give you updates on how well
Why he keep on licking his lip?
they're doing to get out of it. It's called the movies. And this barrier is well known to the ancient alchemists and so on. And the symbol that has been used is again the serpent. That etheric barrier was known in the Chinese astrology as the dragon's head and the dragon's tail. Anyone who knows about astrology knows the moon's nodes, the nodes of the moon. This has to do with the barrier, and you've always seen the protecting circle of the dragon used in mythology and folktale, right? And many people have dreams I've talked to have connections between the symbol of the moon and the symbol of the dragon. And they don't know why. You know? And then they read my material and go, my God, you just explained it, why I have those dreams. And the Native American Indians, the Zuni and the Hopi, call that barrier the Great Web in the Sky. Anybody ever familiar with that term that the Native American Indians use about a great
No, because it's all garbage made of crap.
web in the sky? That web in the sky is there. It's an etheric barrier put there about 50,000 years ago, but the original...
You know, by the way, people who find all sorts of meaning in symbols, these people might be actually schizophrenic. Okay. There's this thing called Rorschach. Rorschach test. In this test, they show you these blots, ink blots, to check what you are going to react. It's an outdated test, by the way, nowadays. But they try to see how people interpret these things. So if you find some creature, something in these symbols, these random blots, so that's a positive for having a mental disorder, some sort of schizophrenia, delusion, something going on. Okay, but nowadays these people, they have spread this disorder so much. They're connecting unconnected things. They are seeing things that are not there, and people are glorifying them by clapping. Wow, such a great thing. Okay, destroying all the sanity of people. Somehow these people are glorified. And that's really sad.
alien masters who came here didn't know that, right? They didn't know right away that this barrier was put there. They actually found out more in historical times. Because they've been moving us forward to get up to the point where they can rebuild the technology. And if you look at history properly from that just one agenda, ladies and gentlemen, you will find out that almost everything that has been happening from 11,000 years has been doing that. You don't need Gene Roddenberry or some mystic to tell you. Why is it everybody, even the countercultural pundits, and thinkers and activists have been wondering, why is it that our technological scientific ability is so much far in advance of our psychological, emotional, and spiritual development? Because it's been pushed that way. That's why. Because some people are hell-bent on making it that way, who control the empires through the hierarchical system.
He's comparing the psychology with the science and technology. What an idiot. Science and technology can never be on the same level as your, like right now in today's time we have supercomputers, we have quantum supercomputers. There's a supercomputer and there's quantum computer, there's quantum supercomputers. And he thinks that people, a normal person, can understand ins and outs, every single thing about this technology with a regular human mind. And if it's not like that, there must be something. Okay, there must be something.
That Jordan Maxwell is the expert on, and other people have also right here in this conference today. You will hear people talking about this, going into these details. But you can put up many questions, but what's the answer? How did this all come about? Why is the eye at the top of the pyramid a reptilian eye? If you actually get a blow-up of the eye at the top of the pyramid of the dollar bill, it's not a human eye. Why are there 13 levels? You know, there's many, many things that a lot of people have.
Same eye Mark Pescio loves, he promotes. He's talking about the same thing. What is going on with these people? How much these people contradict in themselves? It's hilarious and ridiculous at the same time. Right, let me show you. Because people, when they don't see these things, one is saying the same eye as reptilian eye, other one is promoting it. Okay, and have no doubts, I will clarify it. These people are all connected. They are all connected, by the way. Internally, they are all connected, glorifying each other. Okay.
All right, we continue the fun. What you were referring
See,
to, though, is helping
see his
people
necklace.
to self-improve. And the two major ways that I attempt to do that is
I'm not sure if you can see this, but this is the same eye. Okay. And see.
I'm not got into it with this. Now, as I said, we don't have the time. Oh, yeah, and wait, and the Renaissance, which interestingly means rebirth, is a period where they were all patting themselves on the back. Yeah, lovely artwork and everything. Wonderful, right? But the Renaissance, what the occult agenda behind the Renaissance and the black nobility families of Italy was that this was the first time that they really were getting it together with the technology. It wasn't anything like what they needed, but it was like a first beginning. They were getting to the point where they realized it was recognizable, you know? And we call it the Renaissance, or they call it the Renaissance, the rebirth. Where finally some of the science and the scientists started to come together. It was looking like it was the beginning, rudimentary beginnings of what they originally had before the technology was lost. Now, we, as I said, don't have time to go through all 11,000 years of what they've been doing. I have to leave that to your own research. But I can draw one picture for you about a specific time that happened in England in the 16th, the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th century, but specifically the 17th century, at the time of the Tudor dynasty. A big agenda, an important thing we need to know about concerning this matter took place. And it has to do with this character on the right, who's known as Sir John Dee, and he worked for the British government. An interesting...
It's all bullshit. It's all out of the fantasy, their weird pattern recognition that is also impaired. Okay. Now, this person, he was talking about something.
And there even from the very beginning.
Yeah, well, when you start to learn about the six Goswamis of Vrindavan,
He's still licking his lip for some reason.
who were there on the order of Mahaprabhu back in the medieval times, you know,
Why is he licking his lip?
they wrote erotic literature about Krishna. You would, if not being a religious participant, you'd be like, this sounds like homosexual erotic here.
What does this look like to you? What does this look like to you? Why these people, they create such videos? It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Come on. Why is my internet so slow? These are the same people. Anything in him looks like Homo
आप
erectus.
बताइए पहले कभी ऐसा हुआ था कि कोई
Just a second. I clicked the wrong video accidentally.
Perfect servant.
Does this? He is actually wearing some sort of eyeliner, eyeshadow, something.
Being that was very powerful, very strong, and no conscience whatsoever.
These people, with such videos out, they're talking about other people's stuff like this, lacking the actual stuff in that sense as well.
You know, and they all like denied their bodies. They live in extreme austerity, not even eat food, live under a tree.
Who is living like this? I still have this question. These people, they're junkies, they stuff themselves with all sorts of garbage. So they don't understand the real meaning about when people fast or something. Okay. Or they undertake some sort of practice. Alright. So modern life has made these people too comfortable. They chug beer, they snort all sorts of cocaine or something. And they think that whatever they are doing is right, it's good. Whatever other people are doing, fasting or doing something else, it must be something wrong. Talking about Homo erecticism or eroticism, Homo erectus, what is this type of, what do you call this type of person? What type of Homo eroticism or Homo erectus is this person? Answer me. It's hilarious. Let's speak in these people's language now, okay? Enough giving these comebacks
And
benefit
these
of doubts. These people don't deserve any respect. These people don't deserve any explanation or anything else. Because what these scumbags are, they are envious. They have no identity. They have all sorts of identity issues going on with them. And they're projecting their constant envy and hatred. First, they're using same things to glorify themselves, and later on, they're bashing the same things that once again they talked about once to glorify themselves once again. There's something, some sort of disorder is there. So I will stop here. I will leave you with this fabulous piece of work. You decide for yourself. Thanks so much.